Greetings, loved ones. Let me ask you this question. How do you intervene if you see grooming behaviors or if your gut is telling you something is wrong? Let's discover grooming examples and actions that you can take as an active bystander when a child is vulnerable or uncomfortable. Today we're going to discuss in more detail recognizing red flag behaviors in sexual abuse. So help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. So, how do we recognize red flag behavior in sexual abuse? If you watched our 6 previous episodes, then you understand the basics of child grooming. If you haven't, go back and watch them. Again, I'm going to ask you, so how do you intervene if you see grooming behaviors or if your gut is telling you something is wrong? Always listen to your gut. Let's discover grooming examples and actions that you can take as an active bystander when a child is vulnerable or uncomfortable. So one of the grooming is special attention and preference to a child. Offenders are often seen pressing boundaries and breaking rules, but are rarely caught in the act of abusing a child. So when you see a boundary being crossed, describe the inappropriate behavior or boundary violation to the person who has crossed it. Have family rules about when and how adults engage with your children. For example, we don't let Jimmy go to the movies alone without a parent. Another grooming aspect is gift giving. So gift giving of any expense, large or small, is a grooming technique used to flatter children and their families into trusting the individual. So as I'm going to insert here, as missionaries, we've run into situations where groomers will be involved with the church or a mission, and they'll give special gifts. Like we had a case specifically where an American took a boy to the capital city to go to Pizza Hut, buy him some clothes, and get him a bike. And the child was missing for 3 days and was abused. And I don't understand why an adult would let their child go alone with somebody anywhere. You think that because he's in the church that, he's safe. Well, no, that's not true. You need to be vigilant. If another adult is overly interested in your child and your family, consider this a red flag. For example, you can say, "It is so generous that you gave Chloe this jewelry, but we only allow gifts on birthdays." And as I was mentioning about the missionary here that involved the church, you say, "Okay, that's great. You want to take this child to Tagoo to go to Pizza Hut and get some food and a bike? Let me go with you." That way you can prevent anything from happening and make sure that what's promised is actually happening. The other thing they do is touching or hugging the child. Perpetrators will test the limits by starting to introduce touch into the relationship. They might put their arm around the child or ask for a hug to see how the child reacts. And they may do this in front of other adults. If the caregiver does not intervene or object and the child is uncomfortable, it can confuse the child on what type of touch is appropriate. So teach your kids about body autonomy and let them know it's okay to say no to adults. For example, you can say, "It looks like you are forcing Annie to hug you. She looks uncomfortable. Please stop. We let Annie decide if and how she wants to show affection." And again, I'm going to insert something. One of our guidelines here at the ministry is that when we have children here, they're not allowed to sit on Americans' laps, because those are the ways that groomers, so if children are constantly like sitting in someone's laps and having arms around them or having people's hands on their legs because they're sitting on their laps, those introduce forms of touches that makes it easier for a groomer, an abuser, because the child thinks that's okay. So we allow people to sit side by side. We allow a hug if the child wants it, but we don't allow a child to sit on the lap of adult. Another thing they do is the sympathetic listener. When grooming of a minor takes place, the offender will listen to the child when they are excited or they're upset. They will start to build barriers between the child and their parents and friends by telling them, "I care more for you than anybody else." So be open with your kids. Let them know that even people they love can hurt them. And tell your children you are there for them, and they can tell you anything, and you will believe them. Be open. Listen to them, even when the days are hectic. For example, you can say things like, surprises make people happy, but we don't want to keep a secret, though, because secrets can make people upset or unhappy. If anybody wants you to keep a secret, tell mommy or daddy. You can tell us anything. So I'm going to insert something else here. So secrets, we can tell our children that there should be no secrets other than a secret like we're going to have a surprise birthday party for mommy, or this is mommy's Christmas gift. Those are good secrets. But any other type of secrets, we need to teach our children they need to tell us. So if an adult other than mommy or daddy says, what we're doing is a secret. Anything done in secret needs to be told to mommy and daddy, because if it's secret, it may not be good. And again, I'll repeat, you can tell them secrets such as we're going to have a surprise birthday party for mommy. That's a good secret. Or this is what we're buying daddy for Christmas. Don't tell daddy this is a secret because this is his gift at Christmas. Those types of secrets are good. Any other secret needs to be told to mommy and daddy. And you need to open that communication with your kids. The other things like this missionary here are offers to help the family. So the individual will offer to do special things or help the caregiver to gain alone time with the child. I'm going to insert here. They like to look for families of single-parent homes because the adult there has the burden of everything on them. So let me help you with this. You need to be very careful about people who do that. It could be innocent, but you need to keep an eye on it. So be sure to let other adults know that you do not approve of them being alone with your child without your permission or knowledge. And you need to check in regularly so other adults know that you are watching them. For example, drop in unexpectedly on a babysitter. Stay for the entire soccer practice, even until the last child leaves. And then here's one of the most dangerous ones of all. And most of our missing children, and I'd have to say almost all of our sexual trafficking of children, is a result of gaining access via the internet. So listen to me, parents. This part's really important. Perpetrators will often pretend to be somebody they are not to gain access to kids online. And we have other episodes about this when we talk about human trafficking, sexual trafficking, and all of this in the future. These people will pretend to share similar interests to gain trust, and then they'll do all these grooming things online. So know who your kids are talking to. For example, monitor what apps your children use and have limits to when and where they can use their devices. Perhaps at night, tablets, phones, and computers live in the caregiver's room. Mom and dad, you collect all of these things, and they're in your room at night. And I'm going to insert in here. These perpetrators will go on Facebook pretending to be a 15-year-old boy when they're really a 50-year-old man. And they will show interest in your daughter, become friends with your daughter, start talking to your daughter, and then say, hey, let's meet. And she thinks that she's got a boyfriend from the next town when it's a 50-year-old guy in a different state. And he's like, let's go meet somewhere, and then, or let me come to your house. And when your parents aren't there, and all of a sudden the child is alone with a 50-year-old man who does not have good intentions. So you need to be very careful. You need to supervise your kids' phones. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that children are given phones at the age of 12 and can do whatever they want on it, and no parents are looking at their phone. You need to know the passwords for all of your children's stuff, and you need to supervise it. The computer they're on needs to be in a public area. This is so serious, so serious. Children are disappearing and being sex trafficked or being sexually abused, being kidnapped, being murdered. You think I'm overreacting. I live in this every single day. I deal with these types of cases every single day. So parents, you really need to listen to me. And according to the CDC, over half of all children in the world, there's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17 experience violence every year. If we are on top of this, we can cut that in half. We could eliminate that. The question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life, rescues the child, and stops the violence. Micah 6:8 says, He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? Keyword, require. And the first thing in the three things he says is to do justice. The first thing he requires of us is to do justice. In the future, we're going to have series on Jesus and justice and how to do justice. But he requires you to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. If you're a victim of violence, I want you to know there is a way out. It is not your fault. Abuse is not love. You are not alone. And if you are suffering violence, reach out to someone today. And if they don't do anything, reach out to someone else. Keep reaching out until somebody hears you, sees you, and helps you. And if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or another person suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we're going to talk about signs and characteristics of predators. Until then, God bless you.